What is going on? Welcome into the DFS OG's podcast. Week 1 in the books. We'll talk over everything that went right, what went wrong, and everything that we're looking forward to here in week 2. We are, of course, presented by BetMGM. Make sure you get over there. Use promo code GRINDERS, risk-free bet up to $1,000. Bet responsibly with that promo code GRINDERS. Let me get to my boys, Head Chopper and Notorious. Noto, we'll start with you this week. Crazy week 1, as always. We get a lot of upsets. We had a lot of close games come down to the end. Did you survive the madness? How was week 1, my man?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Week 1 was okay for DFS. It was okay for betting, but we got to find a new survivor pool. It was madness out there.
Brutal. A lot of road favorites last week, and we had our concerns. You're always concerned when there's that many road favorites on the board. Some of them got the job done. Some of them, unfortunately, did not. Chop, how was week 1? How we doing, my man?
Week 1 was pretty bad all the way around. Just can't even sugarcoat it. It was just not good, but it's okay. It's just 1 week, and we'll bounce back. But the Survivor already lost this. I can't believe it. First time I ever played Survivor, and I lost in week 1. And what a way to lose, man! I lost because, and I'm definitely one to speak my mind on coaching decisions, but my God, I don't think I've ever seen a worse coached game than Denver on Monday night. And so I'm out, man. I'm out. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, that was something for sure. You pay Russell Wilson all this money, and then you're going to count on a kicker to kick a 64-yard field goal. It was just bonkers. So we saw a little bit of that in a lot of games. Some coaching a little bit rusty. Some of these teams a little bit rusty. Some of the quarterback play was horrendous. Some surprises. So we'll hit on a lot of that as we go along here in week 2. Look back at week 1 and see what these teams did. Any season-long updates, guys, before we get into things? Chop.
I'm looking pretty strong season long. I'm not gonna lie. I feel good. I feel good, man. I got Jefferson and Devontae, so I got them on the turn. So I feel pretty good.
Hard to lose with that pairing in week 1. Noto, how them season-long streets treating you?
Yeah, started 1-0 in the home league, and with it being a new league, we have a new punishment. So last place, 18 holes in a dress of our choosing.
Nice.
So just got to avoid that, and off to a good start.
Oh, I love it. Love them last place pride. Now that's something outside the box. I can get behind that. Love it. We need some video of that. Whoever it is, we'll have to make sure they get outed as a last place finisher. But let's get into the games, guys. Another full week of games. We'll try to hit each and every game from a betting perspective, give you our thoughts, give you some of our favorite survivor picks. We have to be better than we were in week 1 there. And, of course, some of our favorite conviction type plays, we'll call it. So let's start, guys. Thursday night looks like a fun one. Kansas City hosting the Chargers here at BetMGM. Looks like Chiefs -4 as of this recording, up from the opening at 2.5. Total also has ticked up from 53 up to 54.5. So, Chop, we'll start with you this week. Kansas City, I know there's a lot of worries. Tyreek Hill on the move. What are they going to look like? They went into Arizona and absolutely dominated that Cardinals team. Big game from Kelsey. Juju looked good. Chargers, on the other end, get the W at home against the Raiders. Not as glamorous, but get the job done here. Right before we recording here, Keenan Allen already ruled out for the Chargers. So, Chop, what do we think here? Both teams get the W. Chiefs certainly look like one of the AFC favorites. We all love the Chargers if you listen to our preseason pod. So, what's going to give here? Can the Chargers go in and get the job done?
Yeah, I think they can. I think they're probably the better team here, I think. It's in KC, so that obviously gives KC a bigger push. If I was betting this thing, I'm taking the over. That's what I'm taking. I'm taking the over because I don't want to pick a team. But, 4, yeah. If you twisted my arm, I'd take the Chargers plus the 4. It just feels like I think they got so many weapons, man. Now, Keenan's out, but by weapons, I mean on defense. I think their defense stands out. So as a pretty good, but they're not going to stop Mahomes at home. So I'm going to take the over here.
Derek, let's get to you. I'm kind of on the same page with Chop. No strong lean. I'll probably go the Chargers here, even with the line movement. I think we'll see an overreaction by people to Kansas City here. They blow the team out. Chargers kind of barely beat the Raiders. So a lean towards the Chargers, but I do think we get points in this one. Where are you going here on Thursday Night Football?
Yeah, quick shout out to scores and odds as you see on the screen. Just all kinds of different spreads here. BetMGM at 3.5, and then some of the others you can get 4.5. So just depending on what side you like, make sure to shop for that line. But I'm going to go with the Chargers. I know the Chiefs look great, but I think the Cardinals are just bad. I think that kind of helped, make Mahomes and everybody look so good. So I'm going to go with the Chargers. These two teams split last year. They were both close games. I know Keenan Allen out is going to be a negative, but they have enough pieces on both sides of the ball that I think they're going to be fine. And KC is going to be without their kicker. He's been a big weapon for them over the years.
Yeah, he has been rolled out as well. We'll see. I think they signed another kicker. You don't have to have a corner or safety kick and all. That guy did a pretty damn good job for just kind of coming in off the streets. I mean, kicking kickoffs outside the end zone. So I forget the name of the guy, but they have signed a kicker. But no Butker, no Keenan Allen in that one. Let's move to Sunday, guys. First game up, Baltimore hosting Miami. This one opened up Baltimore -4. That's ticked down to 3.5 here at BetMGM. Total has also come down from opening of 46 to 44.5. So, Noto, we'll stay with you. Miami, I think we all liked Miami last week. I don't know if there was more of us liking Miami or disliking New England. We'll talk about that. Baltimore, pretty easy win in the Jets or in New York against the Jets. Didn't really have to do much in that game. Lamar, 3 touchdown passes there. So what do we think here now? A bigger test for Miami. We've all called them a playoff team, I believe. Baltimore, we know, is always going to be a contender here in the AFC. What do you see going on here, Derek? Dolphins and Ravens.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I could see the game going either way. For my pick, I'm going to take the over. Both of these teams passed a lot more than we thought they would in week one. I think the Dolphins were number one in pass rate over expectation. And then, Lamar Jackson just wasn't running that much. He aired it out a ton. I think he had more air yards than anybody. So, I think if both of these offenses are going to pass the ball, Dobbins, we'll see if he's going to play. But either way, I think it's going to be pass heavy. And when that happens, it stops the clock more, get bigger chunks of yardage on each play. So give me the over.
All right, Chop, let's go to you here. Again, two teams that we're pretty high on for this season, two teams that surpassed their week one games. What are we seeing happening here in week two?
Yeah, I don't know. It's this is one it's a flip a coin all the way around for this one for me. I don't think I learned too much about Miami in week one because I do think New England's going to be really, really bad. And we kind of said that leading up to it. And so I don't know that we learned a whole lot about Miami, but I did like some of the things they did on offense, using that speed at wide receiver. So, maybe they got a good coach here. I guess because of that, we're getting the extra half a point here. So maybe give me Miami to hang within a field goal, and that gives me the spread win. So I'll take Miami.
It's kind of where I'm at, taking the points here. I think these teams, I know a lot of people probably look at the Ravens as the more dominant team, but I still think there's questions there in a running game. I think Miami's better than people expect. So a coin flip game, I'm going to take the points here with Chop. Not a conviction play, but I do think we get a very close game here. So give me the Dolphins plus the points as well. Next game, guys, Jets and Browns. Certainly not the sexiest game on the board. Cleveland up to -6 here at BetMGM. Started at 5.5. Total sitting at 40 in this one. So a very low total game here, Chop. Cleveland, they go in, they get the win in Carolina, kind of an ugly win, get out to a lead, let the Panthers back in, but they end up closing out the game on a very long field goal. The Jets lose at home to the aforementioned Baltimore Ravens. So ugly game. You touching this one? A 40 is a pretty low total here in the NFL, Chop.
Yes, it is. And probably deserves to be around a 40. So I'm not going to argue with that side of it. The Jets are who they are. I don't think they're particularly good right now. And Flacco, debatable whether he's better than Zach Wilson right now or not. I don't know, but I don't think he's anything good. So, I'm like, it's hard to say you only win by 2 points against Carolina, and that's impressive, but it wasn't that bad of a game for Cleveland. I think they showed something. I don't expect much with Jacoby Brissett as your quarterback. So I think they got some things done, and I think they were pretty good. What They were pretty good on defense. That's the thing now. 17 fourth quarter points for Carolina in catch-up mode. A bomb to Robbie Anderson. That'll hurt the statistics. But for 3 quarters, they look pretty darn good. I think they can look really good against the Jets. I think they can move the ball enough on the ground with Chubb and Kareem Hunt that I think they cover this spread. I kind of like Cleveland here.
All right, Derek, let's get over to you here. 6-point spread, a low total. One team coming off a win, one team coming off a pretty bad loss. What are you doing here? Jets and Browns.
Yeah, I'm with Chop on this one. The second they announced Flacco was the starter for week 2, I went ahead and locked in the Browns as one of my best bets of the week. I just think they're going to, dominate both lines, offensive and defensive. I think they're going to be able to run all over them. And like Chop said, I mean, the Browns played a lot better. They did, leak a little bit there in the fourth quarter. But, I just have no faith in this Jets team. I thought Flacco might be okay, but, man, 59 pass attempts last week and it looked terrible. So give me the Browns in a rout.
Yeah, no strong take for me on this one. If anything, I think the Jets play a little bit better, but who wants to bet on Joe Flacco right now? Like you said, I mean, this guy threw the ball almost 60 times in that last game, playing from behind the whole game and didn't produce many statistics on all those throws here. Cleveland, we know, can run the ball, can play good defense. Would love to hit an under on this as well, even at 40. That would probably be the lean for me, but I'm going to leave this one alone. If anything, that lean towards Cleveland. And the under next game, Washington coming off a win against your Jags, Derek. Some ugly plays in that one. Jacksonville certainly had chances to win that game. They go to Detroit to take on the Lions, another team who certainly had a chance to win at the end. I mean, they were buried for a little bit there. After a good start, Philly kind of races out to a big lead. They come all the way back, end up covering the spread, which is the MO of the Lions here, Derek. The spread has moved a lot. It opened up at Washington -1.5. We're all the way to Detroit -1.5 here at BetMGM, as high as 2.5 in some places here. So a lot of money swinging towards the Lions here, Derek. You following that money, or are you sticking with Washington?
Yeah, I'm sipping the blue Kool-Aid. I was more impressed with the Lions' loss than I was with Washington's win last week. And just looking at some of the metrics, I know we have very small sample with one game, but Washington dead last in adjusted line yards last week. So if Detroit's going to have success, it's going to be on the ground. Swift looked great. Jamal Williams looked pretty good. And so, yeah, give me the home team. Give me Dan Campbell. Give me the Hard Knocks. Give me all these guys. Give me Detroit at home for my second best bet.
All right, I am locking them in as well as a best bet. I love this spot for the Lions. Again, it's not just the line movement. I think Washington is overrated. I think we've all kind of agreed on that. I think Detroit got that jitter out of them. Their first game, there was so much excitement, and they battled with a very good Philadelphia team. I would not call Washington a very good team here. In fact, I think you're going to start to see a guy like Aiden Hutchinson really mark his imprint here with a non-mobile quarterback in Carson Wentz. It's always a different challenge with Jalen Hurts. So give me Detroit as well. Chop, are we making this a sweep here? Are you going to pour some Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid on Derek and I here?
Oh, boy, here we go. I guess we're all three locking in. I'm locking in Detroit as a best bet too, man. I was impressed with them against Philly. And they held in there in that offense. Jared Goff played better than I thought he would play. And Washington just doesn't. I don't think Carson Wentz can duplicate that performance again this year. So I really like Detroit here. And now it scares me a little bit that we've got a line switch so drastically here, and then that we're all three on him, meaning like seems like a very public kind of bet. And that's typically not thing I want to do, but I got the Detroit at home, man. Yeah, got to play it. So lock that one in for me. There's a chance beer froze there. I thought he was doing some notes there, but that's a lot of notes to take. So there's a chance he disconnected. That's fine. Well, I don't know what he said. He locked him in, so. He's got that one in the bag. I guess we can get to the next game, and then maybe he'll be back here pretty quickly, and then I hope he doesn't miss anything too much. But the next one is the Colts and your Jaguars, man. So the Colts are now -4. It opened up 4.5. It's Colts -4. 46.5 is the total. How do you see it playing out?
I have a really tough time with this one. The Jaguars knocked the Colts out of the playoffs last year, so I think there's a little bit more motivation for Indy. They didn't play great last week. And man, I don't know if you saw this video of Trevor Lawrence trying to fire up his guys on Sunday morning. He was just like, let's go out there and play well. I don't know if he's like the leader, pump him up type of guy. I hate taking a road favorite, especially in the division, but I can't be betting on my Jags 2 weeks in a row. So give me the Colts.
All right, I'm back. We all bet on Detroit and everything goes to shit. I mean, that's kind of a sign from the gambling gods, and maybe we shouldn't be locking in the Lions here, but I'm assuming you guys have moved on to Jacksonville and Indy. Heard Derek talking about his Jags here. Spread has moved 4.5 down to 4 here. A total at 46.5. So sound like Derek was going with the Colts here as a road favorite. The pessimistic Jags fan showing back up. Chop, did you weigh in on this game yet?
I have not.
All right, what you got?
And yeah, I'm feeling like the Colts played a really bad game on the road in week 1, and that they're going to come out a lot sharper in this game right here. So yeah, I think I'm gonna take the Colts here on the road.
I'm gonna go Jags. I took Houston last week, felt pretty good about it with the touchdown here. Jacksonville again feels like a team that got that out of their system. They played a good game. They probably should have won that game here. We've seen Indy go down to Jacksonville and struggle before. Still have questions about Matt Ryan. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman look great as the studs there in that offense, but Derek, I think your Jags got a shot here. I don't even hate a sprinkle on the money line here in this one. It'd be tough to see the Colts go basically to 0-1-1 on the season here, but I think the Jags got a shot. I'm going to take the points here with Jacksonville. Not sure if I'm going to lock them in as a best bet, but I do like them here with the points at home. So, Derek, anything else here on your Jags? You ready to move on?
I mean, I gave them a chance, and they let me down week 1. I don't know. I like Chris Kirk in this game, though. Christian Kirk, I think he's going to be real solid. Indy likes to keep everything in front of him, run a lot of slot routes, look great in week 1. So that's my take on the game.
Yeah, a ton of targets for him, and when you pay a guy $80 million, you better get him the football, and he certainly did that. As bad as Lawrence looked at time, Christian Kirk certainly got the job done. All right, this one should be fun. We got Tampa Bay -3 here in New Orleans. That has ticked down. It's actually -105 here at BetMGM in favor of Tampa, plus or -115 if you want to be on the Saints. 44.5 on that total is also down from 47.5. So, Chop, we said Tampa Bay going to Dallas, get the job done. I think your Dallas tanking thing, I don't know if they broke Dak's hand on purpose, but that is certainly looking like it's going to come to fruition here, but a very ugly game. Tampa goes in. They survive. New Orleans, exciting game in Atlanta. Down the entire game. They pull it out at the end of this one. What do you see here, Chop? Well, I know you're a big New Orleans guy. I think I know where you're going with this one, with Tampa coming into town. But Tampa has the favorites here in New Orleans. What do you got?
Yeah, I think, Jameis and that offense looked really weird for about 3 quarters, just like no rhythm. They just couldn't get it together. Their biggest plays were from Taysom Hill, and that was really frustrating sitting there watching that on Sunday. But they eventually got it rolling, and just lock me in here, man. Best bet time right here. Lock it in, the Saints at home. First of all, they always give Brady problems with that defense. Congrats, guys. You beat the Cowboys. I told you they were tanking, so I'm not holding too much weight into that. They're gonna get after Brady here, and they're gonna make life real tough on him. And I think the Saints win this game going away.
I am also locking in the Saints as a best bet. Love this spot for them. We saw Godwin get hurt. I respect this Saints defense. You mentioned the Taysom Hill stuff, frustrating for a guy like Alvin Kamara, but Michael Thomas comes back, looks great. Jarvis Landry goes over 100 yards here. So I think both sides of the ball, this team can get it done. Tampa still has the same questions. Offensive line, what does that wide receiver core look like without Godwin? I know Julio looked pretty good in that last game, but I'm going with the Saints here as well. And Derek has a look like it might be another sweep here. Are you with us on New Orleans?
Yeah, we might be going down in flames together. I'm locking in the Saints as well.
That'll be the first time.
Chop mentioned, I mean, the Saints have kind of had Brady's number since he joined the Bucks, so I like that. I think their defense is a lot better than the Cowboys. Should be able to stifle the run game, and mentioned Godwin being out. So yeah, I mean, I think Winston, he's got a bunch of receivers to work with. Thomas was quiet there till the end, and then kind of broke out. Still got Olave, Landry looked pretty good too. So yeah, give me the Saints at home.
All right, locking in the Saints for all of us here as best bets. +3 at home against Tampa Bay. Next game, another interesting one. Carolina coming off their loss to Cleveland to take on the Giants in New York, coming off a big road win in Tennessee, going for 2 at the end. Huge game for Saquon Barkley, Derek. Now, McCaffrey on the other side, back, did not get healthy, is the joke of the week, but did not have nearly the game that Saquon Barkley did. Here at BetMGM, we got Giants -2, 43 on the total. So 1-0, one team that got the win, one team to get the win. Kind of these middling NFC teams here, Derek. Also a lowish total. What are we doing in this one, Panthers and Giants?
Yeah, it was great seeing Saquon Barkley back, just running at such a high level. And I mean, he made Brian Dable a hero there on that 2-point conversion.
Yes,
looked like he was stopped and got him in, and then Dable dancing with him in the locker room. I thought that was pretty cool. So I think this team's rallying around him. The Panthers, I've just never been a Baker Mayfield truther. So yeah, give me the home team, give me the Giants. I don't have strong, take on this one. Not going to be a best bet, but I'll take the home team.
I'm going to avoid the bet here as well in the spread. I'm going to go under. These are two teams that, offenses look shaky at best. I mean, Carolina, yeah, they put some points on the board. One is on a Robbie Anderson wide open 75-yard play. The Giants, as good as Saquon looked, the offense still struggled. So two teams that they may struggle to hit 20 here, Chop. I'm going to go under. No best bets. No spread bet for me here. What are you doing on Panthers and Giants?
Yeah, I think the Giants are going to gain a lot of steam here. They won on the road against Tennessee, and the Panthers lost at home against the Cleveland team. So I think by the time this thing rolls around on Sunday, I think there'll be a lot more bets on the Giants. I'm going to take the Panthers. I'd sit back and kind of wait it out and hope I could get to 3. If I'm really betting here, but if not, no big deal. I'm still taking the Panthers. I just think everybody looked at week 1 and they expect the Giants to win this game now. No, it's still the Giants. And so I'll take a shot. Baker, he did some things poorly, but he did some things pretty decently in that last game, and he'll get a little bit better. So I'll take Carolina here.
All right, let's move on to New England, traveling to Pittsburgh. New England looked pretty bad in that loss in Miami. Another road game for them. Pittsburgh goes into Cincinnati and surprises some people and gets the win. A little costly, though, as their boy Watt will not be playing for quite some time. It looks like TJ Watt going to be out. So a big hit to that defense potentially. We have New England favorites here up to -1 here at BetMGM. This one's kind of all over the board. Opened at 1.5. A lot of those are still out there. There's some 2s as well. Another low total at 40.5. That has ticked down from the open of 42.5. So, Chop, I think we're all kind of pessimistic on the Patriots here. They are favorites in this one. Are we buying what we saw last week out of Pittsburgh, or is this one of those trap spots where we're buying week 1, they come out laying egg in week 2?
How in the world is New England favored over anybody?
When you have to ask that question, that's where you have to say, what's going on with this?
I'm not going to lock it in because the Steelers are dealing with some major injuries. Najee Harris looks like, nothing right now. He's hurt, and Watt's not going to play, and that's your defensive MVP. But, I'd take the Steelers. I'm just not going to lock it in because of the injuries, but I'm definitely taking the Steelers. I thought the defense looked good. That's Joe Burrow. That's Jamar Chase. They forced a lot of turnovers. I know some of the fluky stuff, but they still looked really good, and the offense looked better than it did last year. That's with a really bad Najee Harris, and so they'll get better. But I'm taking the Steelers here. I'm just not locking it in. But I think there's no way I can take a favorite on the road like the Patriots. No way.
I'm in the same spot. I still, you look at this line and it's fishy. How in the hell is New England a favorite here? But Derek, I just can't bring myself to bet a New England team in Pittsburgh. Even if Pittsburgh was without Watt, still a very good defense here. Still a team that can run the football. And if you put them side by side, I think Pittsburgh's the more talented team on both sides of the ball. That being said, this line doesn't seem right, so I don't really want to back either of these teams. Do you have a lean on Pittsburgh and New England?
I do not. If I had a power rank the 32 teams, I think these two would be in the bottom 5 for me. So I don't want to bet, my money on either of these teams. The Steelers got incredibly lucky, +5 in the turnover department against the Bengals last week, and then the Patriots just looked terrible. So give me the under. I don't think Trubisky and Mac Jones are going to do much in this one.
That's kind of where I'm at. That under, even at 48.5, 41, I think is probably the play here. Two bad teams. I'm with. I don't know if I'd have them bottom 5, Derek. That's down there, but certainly two teams that are more name brand than anything else at this point. All right, let's move to the afternoon window. First game, Atlanta traveling to LA to take on the Rams. Got a very big spread here in this one, 10.5. In favor of the Rams. This thing opened at 13, Derek, so it has come down quite a bit. Total at 47.5. Two teams coming off losses. LA gets blitzed in that opening night game against Buffalo. Atlanta should have had to win, could have had to win, come up short in that game against the Saints. So our first very big spread of the season, Derek. What are you doing here, Atlanta and the Rams?
I mean, Atlanta played well, ended up losing, kind of tough fashion there last week. And then the Rams obviously didn't look great, but they're going to have some extra rest. I think they have 10 days rest for this one. I just think they're going to bounce back in a big way. Atlanta on the road. Don't really trust Mariota. If they fall behind early, I just think, he could make some more mistakes. And I think the Rams defense is going to capitalize on them. So don't love it, but I will take the Rams.
All right, I'm on the other side of this one. I think the Falcons showed enough here competing with New Orleans. They're a team that I think we all kind of liked as maybe an undervalued team. I know it's a tough draw going to LA, going to have revenge on their mind. Very well could get blown out. But, Chop, I hate to say it. I don't hate what I saw out of Mariota last week, a guy that was very mobile. Cordell Patterson, the big game. Didn't get much out of Kyle Pitts and still hung in that game. Drake London looked good. It's the defense that I'm concerned with. That Rams offense looked lost. Are they going to figure it out here over this 10-day window and blow out the Falcons? Or are you with me and you're taking the points with Atlanta?
I kind of knew Mariota was going to look good. This is his old offensive coordinator that he had in Tennessee, so he's familiar with it all. I think he still has a little bit left in the tank, but I think the Rams kind of got embarrassed there in week 1, and so I think I'm with Derek as far as I think they bounce back strong here. So I would take the Rams, but my goodness, can we do something with Allen Robinson besides calisthenics out there on the field for 60 minutes, man? Get the guy some targets or something, man. He's not. I don't know if you guys saw clips that isolated just him and his matchup in that game, but he wasn't even running routes. He was just out there like literally walking around. So they got to do so. You can't pay that guy. Please don't tell me Allen Robinson is that washed already. Please don't tell me that because I'm going to be very upset. I really had high expectations for him. So we'll see how that plays out.
A lot of people on that A-Rob is wash train. So they took their early victory laps. So we'll see what happens here. So we'll kind of split on that one. Let's move on to the NFC West, the first place Seattle Seahawks, unbelievable win over the Denver Broncos, a very shocking win. A lot went wrong for Denver to get them there. The couple fumbles on the goal line, the play calling towards the end, and we could point at a lot of things. But here we sit, Seattle 1-0, traveling to San Francisco. Another big spread here, Chop. Niners by 9.5 in this one. Total at 41.5. Now the Niners go to Chicago and drop a dud there. Now, there was a monsoon. The field was basically flooded. But, Chop, how concerned are you with this Niners team, specifically with Trey Lance, who the three of us talked about before the show, potentially the worst starting quarterback in the league, what was brought up in our chat here. So do they bounce back? Do you have concerns there? And is any of this we saw from Seattle legit and going to play out here in San Francisco?
What a weird week one for both these teams. I couldn't believe Geno Smith looked that sharp against what I thought was a good defense going into the year. And, I'm watching that first half. They just couldn't stop Seattle. Denver couldn't. Like, it was the weirdest thing. Then on the flip side, I expected a little bit more out of Trey Lance and the Niners, and they drop a game to Chicago. And Trey Lance looked like he just picked up a football last week for the first time. I don't know what was going on there, man, but I'm gonna maybe think the bad weather had a lot to do with it, maybe, hopefully, and that he bounces back. I'm gonna take the Niners here. Not quite enough to lock them in, but I think Frisco rolls them up, playing some good defense, and they shut down Geno Smith. I don't expect Geno to have another first half like he did against Denver. So I'll take the Niners here. I think they bounce back pretty strong, and Lance has a pretty good game and pretty good game on the ground. I don't know how good of a passer he's going to be moving forward, but I'll take the Niners here.
I'm with you on the Niners. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to lock them in. I'm gonna see. I got about 6 or 7 I like. They are certainly on the fringe. I don't think anybody's going to want to bet the Niners coming off that game in Chicago, seeing that high spread, looking at what Seattle did. They beat Denver. They're going to go in and compete here. I call nonsense. I think we're going to get a ground and pound effort. I think the defense is going to look much sharper here against Geno going on the road. It's a lot easier at home. Crowd on your side. Things are looking good. Now you got to travel on the road. I like the Niners here, Derek. Your thoughts here, Seattle and San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle, they got to open their season at home in prime time against their ex. I mean, in Russell Wilson. I mean, that was as fired up as they're going to be all season. And it took 2 goal line fumbles and some of the worst play calling, as Chop mentioned at the top of the show, that we've seen in quite some time. So I am not buying into Seattle. Niners, we don't know. I mean, we can just throw out that game from last week, I think, just in the monsoon and all that. Trey Lance, if you are still a believer, this is as cheap as you're going to see his stock probably the rest of the season until he gets benched, if he does. So, yeah, if you want to go trade for Lance in your leagues, I don't hate it. Just, throw out something bad and see if somebody takes it. But I'm with you guys. I'll take the Niners just because I think the Seahawks, that was their Super Bowl last week.
Yeah, he was probably dropped in a lot of leagues as well. People panicking and hopping off, even in DFS. A guy that can run is always an intriguing play. As bad as he's looked, if he puts the rushing game together, throws a couple touchdowns, you're going to be very happy at a cheap cost and low ownership. So just keep that one in mind. All right, let's get to the next one. Cincinnati coming off a horrible loss. Like you said, Derek, turnovers galore. Joe Burrow was absolutely horrendous in that game. They lose T. Higgins to a concussion. They travel to Dallas, take on the Cowboys, who also look terrible, lost their quarterback for what sounds like 6 to 8 weeks. So the Cooper Rush show starting here in Dallas, Derek. This thing has inflated all the way to Cincinnati, -8 here on the road, total at 41.5. Derek, is that too many points? Has it gone too far? Not enough points? What are you doing here, Cincy and Dallas?
Yeah, I had more invested in the Bengals winning last week than I did in any other team, so I ended up watching the entire game. -5 in the turnover department. Jamar Chase had 3 touchdowns, and only one of them was called. He was an inch away from 2 other touchdowns. They missed an extra point to win. They missed a field goal to win. I'm still buying the Bengals. I think the offensive line is better. We obviously saw Dallas. I don't trust Cooper Rush. It's never good when Zeke is your best offensive player, and he looked better than anyone else for the Cowboys last week. So I'm taking the big road favorite. I don't feel great about it. If you can, get it down to 6.5, I would feel a lot better. But I will be locking in the Bengals as my 4th best bet.
All right, locking them in. Let's get to our resident Cowboys expert, Chop. Your thoughts here. Cooper Rush taking over. The offense did not look great in that one. Cincinnati coming off a horrible loss. Do they bounce back, throttle your Cowboys? We get a close game here. Thoughts, Bengals and Cowboys?
Yeah, this is a massive spread for the road. I don't care. I know the Cowboys are really in bad shape right now. So big that I would take Cincinnati, but I can't lock it in. It's just a lot of points. But I agree with what Derek said. I think Cincinnati comes in here and wins this game. They're just the better team by far. I worry about everything about the Cowboys. The only thing I don't worry, I think the defense is looking up. I think the arrow is pointing up on the defense. So that's the one thing that could maybe keep them within this spread. It's certainly not going to be the offense, but the defense is strong enough to maybe keep them within this heavy spread. So I'm going to take Cincy. Can't lock them in, though.
All right, I'm going to lean under on that one. Don't have a strong take on the spread. I'm probably with you guys in Cincinnati, but it seemed like a lot of points. So I think we get an uglier game, especially on the Dallas side of things. So I'll go under on that total. Next game, Houston coming off that tie at Indy. I mean, they had the game one up 20-3. Let Indy go back in. What'd you guys think of them playing for that tie? I'm sure you saw the end of that game. Basically, ball at midfield. You either punt and play for that tie, or you go for it, giving Indy the ball at midfield with 2 timeouts left. So, Chop, what'd you think of that call by Lovie Smith?
I'm kind of torn. Like, you're either gonna play for the tie, and that's what you're gonna do, but if you go for it, you're basically giving them a win. You're not there. They're going to be within field goal range on the next play. So I don't know. I'm torn on that one. For Houston, I don't. You're not expected to do anything this year. Might as well get you a tie. Probably can't feel that bad. It almost feels like a win. Hey, it was Indianapolis. So I don't know, man. I'm torn. I don't even know what to think about that one.
It's just funny, a losing team, we're like, yeah, they should have gone for the tie. If a winning organization does that, we're going to be ripping them to shreds. What are you doing? Fire everybody. Why do we even have ties? Why can't we just play until there's a winner? That I don't understand. I know it's the whole safety and injury, blah, blah, blah. But Derek, your thoughts on punting for the tie?
Can't there be something like before Derek, like maybe not a field goal kickoff? I'm not saying that like a soccer kickoff or anything, but maybe something within the stats where, okay, if we're tied after the overtime, then we'll defer to this particular stat. So you better dominate this stuff during. I don't know what that is. I don't have, but something like that. Just a tie is really weird. Or do like the college football does. After 2 overtimes, they don't want to do this all day long. Nothing but 2-point conversions back and forth. You trade until one team makes one and one team can't answer. So do something like that.
Would love to see college overtime transferred over. Even if we did this 10-minute period and then went to something like that. That would be viable as well. Derek, punting from the 50, yay or nay?
I mean, while you're watching it, you're thinking, what are you doing? You got to go for it. But then looking back, I mean, they had no momentum. Like Chop said, if you don't get that conversion, you've pretty much given the game to the Colts. So a small victory, I guess, for Lovie Smith and the crew. Just get them going for the rest of the season. I get it, but I don't love it.
All right, let's talk Texans here in Denver. 10-point underdogs here, down from 10.5 total at 45 in this one. Derek, we'll stay with you here. Again, the Texans, I said last week, I think they're going to be scrappy. I think they're going to surprise some people. I'm not proclaiming them to be a playoff team, but certainly did that in week 1. Can they go to Denver and do it again here in week 2? A team probably pretty angry coming off that loss in Seattle. Derek, what are you doing with this one?
Yeah, I'll side with the Broncos in this one. I think I'll probably make it my last best bet. But it's just funny. I mean, I have a couple friends that are Seahawks fans, and you saw all the ex-Seahawks players just come out with all this hate for Russell Wilson now that he's on the Broncos. He talks about being like the best team player and all that, but I don't think any of his teammates ever are really that close to him. After the game, he was talking about he only plays for one person, the man above, and he's hard to relate to, I think, as a teammate. But anyway, I think the Broncos bounce back. Javonte Williams looked great. I think Cortland Sutton's going to, have a much bigger role moving forward. I think the defense played fine. They just didn't get, they had a couple turnovers. They just didn't score on the goal line, and I think that changes at home.
Chop, let's go to you. I'm going to lean Houston in the points here again. It will not be a best bet this week for me here on Houston. I agree with some of what Derek said. I mean, to see the crowd booing Russell Wilson, where he spent all of his career, bringing that team a Super Bowl. I mean, thoughts on Russ, thoughts on Houston in week 1, and does Denver bounce back here and cover this big spread in week 2?
How's my mic? Am I pretty good right now?
We got you.
Okay, because the first time I ever venture into doing a Survivor, and I'm looking forward to this thing going, several weeks and having a little fun with it. I get bounced in week 1. Russell, put down your dumbass TikTok and try to complete some passes out there, man. Do something for me, man. You're out there. I don't know what you're doing, man, but it doesn't look good. I'll tell you that much. Like, I'm going to take Denver. I'm going to lock them in this week because they've got to bounce back here. They're at home. Houston, I get it. You were in a hostile environment in Seattle, probably the most hostile environment you might be in all year long. They really legit hate you, Russell. You got to look in the mirror, pal. You really do, man. If all these guys hate you that much, so something's going on there. So look in the mirror, but bounce back this week, please. Do something for me. I think that Denver, like, there's so many weapons, right? Like Javonte coming out of the backfield caught like 15 passes on one. He's got that going for him. He's really good. And Judy with his speed was awesome. I can't believe they couldn't get him the ball more on Monday night. Sutton is the big guy going downfield for the touchdowns. I expect them to do more with him this week. So I think it all sets up well for Denver. So I'm taking Denver in a big bounce back here. Lock them in, but please, Russell, let's concentrate on some football, man. Let's leave the other stuff behind for just a few weeks, man.
Russ is listening. He's a big fan of the show here. So taking those, please, from Chop. We'll see if they can right the ship and cover this big 10-point spread at home against Houston. All right, next one. Chop, will stay with you. Big total here in this one, as you'd expect. Arizona and the Raiders. Raiders opened up 2.5-point favorites. That has ballooned to 5.5 here. Total at 51.5. So top two teams that, high expectations coming into the year. The Raiders were in that game with the Chargers, just could never get over the hump. Devontae Adams comes in, gets 17 targets in that game, so makes an instant impact. Arizona side, they just look terrible. From top to bottom, there was not a lot to write home here about Arizona. I know they're dealing with some injuries in the receiver core. We'll see if they get Rondale Moore back here, Chop, but I love Vegas in the spot. I don't know if it's a week one overreaction. I just think Arizona is highly overrated here. So I'm going to lock in Vegas minus the 5.5 as a best bet. You with me? You think Arizona bounces back? What are you doing here, Cardinals and the Raiders?
I think I got a pretty good idea who the Raiders are. And, very similar to last year. I saw some good things in a tough matchup in week one. The Cardinals, I have no idea who they are. I don't know if Kansas City's just really good and they win it on the road and rolled Arizona, or if Arizona's just really bad with like one receiver. They got one good wide receiver, and that guy was run out of Baltimore. They traded him out of Baltimore. So that tells you, and that's a contending Baltimore team that could really use wide receivers. So I don't know what's going on there. JJ Watt might come back this week. Is that your savior on defense? I mean, the guy's like, 47 years old. I can't remember what he is, but I don't know what's going on with Arizona. Got a pretty good idea of the Raiders, but because of that, I can't really touch the spread here because Arizona might be okay. I don't know, maybe just a bad week. So I think the Raiders can put up some points. I think at the end of the day, Arizona's can put up some points. I'll take the over just for the entertainment value.
Yeah, I like the over there as well. So I like the Raiders. I like the over for maybe a little two-team parlay, but certainly should see some points here. Two defenses that, let's be honest, have a lot of question marks going into this season, and certainly didn't answer any of those questions in week one. So I like the over there with you, Chop. Noto, I'm on the Raiders. We both like the over. You're taking the Cardinals, doing something different. What do you got here? Cardinals and Raiders.
Yeah, one of my takes heading into the season was that the Raiders were overrated. Obviously, the Cardinals look terrible, so I don't want to trust them, but I haven't taken any underdogs yet, so I'll take the 5.5 and just hope that Kyler can keep it close. Maybe a backdoor cover in this one.
All right, let's move on to Green Bay and Chicago. Sunday Night Football in Lambeau Field. Green Bay minus 10 here at home. That's ticked up from 9.5. Total at 42.5. So Packers looked bad from the start. Christian Watson gets wide open on about a 75-yarder. Rodgers drops it in there, and he drops it, and everything went downhill from there. It was a game I was concerned about. I liked Minnesota in that game last week, but coming here at home against Chicago, gets a big win at home. Derek, what happens here? I mean, do we see the Bears team that survived and got a W, look pretty good? Do we see the Bears team that we thought would be one of the worst in the NFL. Green Bay, the same question, expected to be one of the better teams. We saw them do this last season, drop a dud in week 1 against New Orleans and then go on a roll here. Do they bounce back here, or Chicago keep this game close, potentially stun Green Bay at home?
This is a tough one. The Bears, I don't think their defense is any good. I know they were okay last week against Trey Lance, but yeah, I mean, again, that was in a monsoon. And I love the Packers running backs. I think both of them are going to have a big game here. But for my pick, I wrote down tell Beer. Whatever Beer does, that's what I'm going to do, because you were on it last week with the Vikings, locking them in there as one of your best bets. So it's your team, so I'm going to tell whatever you do.
I'm going to back Green Bay here. It's a big spread. I worry about it. Chicago has traditionally played pretty well in Lambeau Field. But I'm expecting the defense to play better. I'm expecting Rodgers to really light a fire under a lot of these wide receivers here this week. And if not, lean on his veterans. Lean on Cobb. Lean on Tunyon. Lean more on Aaron Jones. They've discussed they got to get him the ball more. But I agree with you. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. Chicago did enough to get that win at home. Can they go on the road and score points is always going to be the question here. So hate that it's 10. I wish it was closer to 8, but I'm actually going to lock in Green Bay this time, going opposite of last week. I'm going to lock Green Bay in as one of my best bets here. So Chop, are you with me? Or do you think Chicago keeps this one close? What are you doing here on Sunday Night Football? Bears, Packers.
Lock them in for me. Green Bay, lock it in. Lock it in. Green Bay, this is a big bounce back spot. The Bears, that was their Super Bowl in week 1 at home. Perfect conditions for them to pull an upset. The weather was atrocious, right up their alley. You go to Green Bay now, and what is probably going to be a pretty pissed off Aaron Rodgers at home. Yeah, I think the Bears are in big trouble here. Lock me in for Green Bay.
All right, let's move to Monday night. And it's so weird. We got 2 Monday night games. So usually we see that in week 1. I'm not so sure why we have it in week 2, but here we are. First one is Tennessee traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. This one opened at Buffalo -7.5. That has ballooned to the Bills -10, total at 48.5. Chop, the Bills did everything we thought they would do. They're the favorite to win the whole thing. They go out, they make a statement, and they dominate the Rams in LA. Now they come home, take on a Titans team that couldn't beat the Giants at home, and a team I think we all have concerns with. So is this the spot? Buffalo just rolls, or can Tennessee pull it together, stay competitive, potentially win on the road here in Buffalo?
Yeah. You need to look at my records here. Do I have any more locks left this week, or did I use all 5?
You have 1 left by my count.
Yeah, I'm going to use it on this game because the next game is really a coin flip. But I'm going to use it on this game right here. I'm taking Buffalo as a lock. And I say that for a myriad of reasons. Number one, Tennessee didn't impress me in week 1 at all. What is Tennessee going to do this game to move the ball? Derrick Henry? That's their only bet. This guy, he doesn't have the receivers. Tannehill doesn't have the receiver. He just couldn't really get the ball downfield very much. You're relying everything on Derrick Henry. Buffalo has fortified that defensive line to stop the run in the middle. It's going to be a tough deal to depend on Henry this whole game. And I'll say this right now: if they don't get any significant injuries, how is somebody going to go into Buffalo and beat Buffalo in the playoffs? I don't see it, man. They look so sharp in that game. They lost Brian Daboll, and their offensive play calling probably looks sharper than it has at any point with Daboll there. Ken Dorsey did a great job. Coaching staff does a great job. They use their analytics. They go for it when you probably should go for it. They don't go for it when you shouldn't. They got the best quarterback in the game right now, all around. And I say that, knowing Mahomes is really good. But if you're in 3rd down and 2, 3rd down and 3, who else do you want quarterback? Because this guy can't be stopped. He's freaking a linebacker size, and he can throw the ball with a rocket arm. If they don't get hurt, they're your Super Bowl champions, I think. But I'm locking them in this week. I'm really impressed with Buffalo. And I hate to say it because those goofballs in Buffalo like to jump off the roofs and onto the tables and stuff. And I don't really need to see that all December and January in the playoffs. But I guess we're going to have to get our eye full of that stuff because they're coming, man.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of table crashing for sure. I've said multiple times that this team feels like that New England team that just trucked everybody. I think they're that much better than the field. Maybe Kansas City can make an argument. Maybe there's a handful of teams, but for the most part, I think you're going to see this team roll through everybody. So I'm not locking this one in, Chop, but I'm on your side here. I think Buffalo rolls in this one. Slow down, Derrick Henry. You win this game. Unless you get a miracle performance out of Ryan Tannehill that we have not seen in years. So I'll go Buffalo here as well. Not quite a best bet, but right on the fringe. Derek, your thoughts here? You're going with us with Buffalo. Titans have a chance in this one. Titans, Bills, what do you got?
I agree with everything you guys said about the Bills. They look unstoppable at this point. And we talked about the Titans kind of taking a step back in our preseason show. I don't know if you guys saw Derrick Henry just get trucked against the Giants last week. He got decleated. And when that happened, it just kind of felt like this is a team that's not going to bully people anymore. And I don't see him competing in this game. I don't see him competing in their own division. So, yeah, I'm with you. Give me the Bills.
All right, last game. And again, you're going to have a 2 TV setup here. One starts at 7:15 Eastern, the other one at 8:30. We got Minnesota and Philadelphia closing out the week. Philly gets the win in Detroit. Minnesota gets the big win at home against my Packers. Spread sitting at 2.5 here at BetMGM in favor of the Eagles, 50.5 on the total. So, Derek, let's finish it up with you. Two teams look pretty good in week one, especially on the offensive side of the ball. What happens here in Philly? Vikings, Phillies to close out the week.
I see this
Eagles,
as
Eagles, not Phillies.
I see this as a true pick 'em. But Justin Jefferson, man, this guy looks like he could be breaking some records. They're moving him all over the field. Love that. Love what Kevin O'Connell's bringing to the table for the Vikings. And then the Eagles, their offense looks pretty good too. So I'm just taking the over. I have respect for both defenses, but I think it's just going to be a shootout. I don't want to pick a side, so give me the over.
All right, I'm going to lock in Philly as a best bet here. I really liked what I saw here. Again, Minnesota, I think, is very underrated, but let's see what they look like on the road here. I think Philly can lean a little bit more on their run game, on their defense than Minnesota can. Jefferson, an absolute stud, probably should be a Philadelphia Eagle. They drafted Jalen Reagor over him, who's now a teammate of Jefferson's, but I just think Philly the better team here. So give me the home team. I agree with you, Derek. Should be a close game, but when it's at 2, it's under the field goal. I like Philly here in the spot. I'm locking them in as a best bet. Chop, finish this up here for week 2. Vikings and Eagles. What do you got?
Oh, man. So I don't have a best bet left. I probably wouldn't use it here anyway because I think this is a really good game. I'm going to take the over here. And my analysis on this would be, if the Vikings somehow jump out ahead, I mean, Jalen Hurts, there's probably no better quarterback in the NFL at just playing catch up and just garbage time. Let's just, do everything to get points on the board. So you got that going for you, or it could just be a flat out shootout. There's a lot of ways you could hit this game, the over. So I like the over here. I'll say the Eagles, I think, are still really tough. And they're probably one of my favorite teams in the NFC to come out of the NFC. I think they got a lot of good things going for them, but man, I was not impressed with their defense so much last week. And on the Viking side, man, I'll tell you what, you see a coach like that come up, a nice, you take a chance on a young up and coming coach. It looks like it's going to pay off instead of one of these retreads, we're seeing that other teams hire, which is terrible. Like you want to like that was one of the best defenses. Green Bay is going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. It's not like they fell off, overnight. That Minnesota game plan was just so good. It made them look really bad at times. You saw some plays where Justin Jefferson didn't have a guy 10 yards around him, and you wonder why. And then you look, and you go back, you dig into it a little bit, and it's because on something like an ungodly, over 50% of his routes or his catches, he had a linebacker on. They got him a linebacker. That's coaching right there. Getting a linebacker, getting you in mismatches, and not just jamming the ball in there when you have Jair Alexander shadowing you or something like that. They got him mismatches. That's great coaching. He's going to have a big year because of that. And this team is going to be pretty good because of that. So I think they can score some points. I'll take the over, but super impressed with what Minnesota did in week 1.
Yeah, no doubt. They look great. They've been undervalued through this whole process. I think you'll continue to see them be undervalued here. And I like that overcall with you. I just think Philadelphia is still the superior team when we line these two up next to each other. So give me the home team in this one. And that will do it for week 2. Again, 2 Monday Night Football games, a little odd, but our best bets here to do a quick recap. Make sure everything is right. Chop has Detroit at home against Washington. New Orleans as an underdog at home against Tampa Bay. Denver at home against Houston. Green Bay to beat Chicago, and Buffalo to dominate Tennessee. Noto going with Cleveland, Detroit, New Orleans, Cincinnati, and Denver. And I have Detroit, New Orleans, Las Vegas, Green Bay, and Philly. So a little bit of carryover here. All three of us on Detroit, all three of us on the Saints, two of you guys on Denver, two of us on Green Bay. So those end up as some of the best bets. Again, thank you to our friends over at BetMGM for being great sponsors here of the show. Promo code Grinders going to get you a risk-free bet up to $1,000. So go and check them out. Great sponsors here of the show. Guys, final thoughts here, week 2. Noto, we'll start with you, buddy. What do you got?
All right, kind of random, but we got a couple minutes. So we were playing Lot and Thinks, which is a game where you just come up with crazy questions, ask your friends, and you try to guess what they're going to guess. Anyway, my question was, how many times has Josh Allen thrown a football and said, "That's crisp"? Those exact words right after throwing a football. You wouldn't believe the wide range of answers I got. So I wanted you guys to kind of settle the debate. How many times do you think has Josh Allen said, "That's crisp" after throwing a football?
I'm going to say 0. That doesn't sound like something a country boy is going to say from Wyoming. I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but it doesn't sound like a Josh Allenism. So lock me in for 0. Chop, what do you got?
I mean, right after throwing a football, I'm going to say 0.
Okay,
Because
so,
I can imagine he says, "That's crisp," like he's out in the Wyoming air or something like that, but not just after throwing a football. I don't see it.
So yeah, the one answer was 0, one was like 20, another one was 11,000. So yeah, I couldn't. we talked about this for hours after the results came in, but yeah, I think you guys are closer to the real answer.
Interesting question. We'll have to incorporate that game into the show here. I kind of like it. Chop, final thoughts, week 2, buddy. What do we got?
Ready to get week 2 here, so we can get the stench of week 1 behind us and get to rolling. We'll just call it a slow start. So we're on any week. This is our week right here. This is our week.
And we're all looking for that second chance survivor pool. So if you
got one, let us know.
Yeah, if you got one out there, I mean, we all kind of. That's why I hate survivor pools. You make one bad play in week 1, and you are gone. So we are looking for those second chance survivor pools. If you got anything, hit us up. If you got any recommendations, anything you want us to talk about here on the show, we appreciate the feedback. If you want to give the show a 5-star review, we'd love that as well, wherever you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app. And if you are on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you click that thumbs up button and leave any commentary there as well. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Best of luck here in week 2. For Notorious, for Head Chopper, I am Beer. We are the DFS OGs. Good luck this week, and we'll talk to you next week.